There is a street in London that technically does not exist. No obvious road sign, no clear public record, no tourist plaque. And yet, it has shaped history in ways most people will never realize. If you walk through central London at night, when the rain hits the pavement and the city feels heavier, you might pass it without knowing. It looks ordinary. Brick walls, dark windows, a plain door. Nothing about it suggests power. But behind doors like these, wars were influenced without a single bullet being fired. Because Britain didn't just fight wars with soldiers. It fought with stories. During the Second World War, the United Kingdom created one of the most secretive departments in its history. It was called the Political Warfare Executive. Its purpose was simple on paper: break enemy morale, spread confusion, control narratives. But what that meant in practice was something far more complex. From hidden offices in London, teams of writers, linguists, psychologists, and intelligence officers crafted entire realities. They created fake radio stations that pretended to broadcast from inside Nazi Germany. They invented hosts with believable accents and backstories. They spread rumors about shortages, betrayals, and failures inside the enemy ranks. Sometimes the stories were small. A whisper about food ration failures, a rumor about distrust between commanders. Other times, they were massive. Entire fictional resistance movements designed to make enemies question their own stability. And it worked, because information is a weapon. But here's what most people don't know. When the war ended, the skill didn't disappear. The buildings didn't empty overnight. The expertise didn't evaporate. It evolved. The Cold War began. And suddenly narrative control wasn't just useful, it was essential. The battlefield had changed. Now it was ideology versus ideology, capitalism versus communism. And the fight wasn't happening only with tanks and missiles. It was happening in newspapers, on the radio, in television broadcasts, in carefully worded statements. London became one of the central hubs for what intelligence communities quietly called perception management. Not censorship, not obvious propaganda. Something shaping emphasis, choosing which stories rise, allowing others to fade. Imagine a newsroom in the 1960s. Typewriters clacking, phones ringing, editors arguing over headlines. Now imagine a quiet call placed to the right person at the right time. A suggestion, a warning, a recommendation. No threats, no shouting. Just influence. And influence can be far more powerful than force. Declassified documents from the mid-20th century show that Britain mastered psychological operations long before the digital age. Operation Fortitude, for example, convinced Nazi Germany that D-Day would happen somewhere it never did. Fake armies were created. Inflatable tanks. False radio traffic. Invented generals. The enemy believed it because the illusion was consistent. Carefully constructed, psychologically precise. That same expertise didn't just vanish after victory. It became institutional knowledge. Studied, refined, integrated. And here's where things become uncomfortable, because techniques designed for foreign enemies don't simply disappear when peace returns. They sit in archives, in training manuals, in strategic doctrine. Waiting over the decades, the UK developed some of the most advanced information strategies in the world. Media management units, strategic communications teams, behavioral insight groups, all officially created to protect national security. And to be clear, many of these operations were directed outward. Countering hostile states, disrupting extremist messaging, preventing conflict. But influence is not a light switch. It doesn't turn off cleanly. The same tools that shape perception abroad can shape it at home. Not through dramatic announcements, not through obvious manipulation, but through framing, tone, placement, repetition. Think about how quickly certain stories dominate headlines, and how quickly others disappear. Think about which narratives feel urgent, and which ones feel distant. Is it always organic, or is there guidance behind the scenes? This is not about conspiracy. It is about capability. Because the capability absolutely exists, the UK government has openly discussed strategic communications as a pillar of modern security. Psychological resilience, narrative dominance, information superiority. These are not fictional phrases. They are policy language. And in the age of social media, those capabilities have multiplied. Algorithms now decide visibility. Emotion drives engagement. Outrage spreads faster than correction. The battlefield is no longer just print and radio. It is your phone, your feed, your timeline. So when you walk past an unmarked building in London, when you see nothing more than brick and shadow, remember some of the most powerful operations in history happened behind doors that looked completely ordinary. No dramatic signage, no secret symbols, just offices, desks, phones, and people who understood one thing better than anyone else. Control the story. And you control perception. Control perception. And you influence reality. The street may not officially exist in the way you expect, but its legacy does, in the way news spreads, in the way crises are framed, in the way narratives rise and fall. Power does not always announce itself. It does not always wear a uniform. Sometimes it sits quietly in a dimly lit room, listening, watching, adjusting, and the city above continues as normal. Unaware, because the most effective influence is the kind you never notice. Next time you walk through London at night, pay attention to the ordinary, because history is rarely hidden in grand monuments. It hides in plain sight, behind plain doors, on streets that technically don't exist.